Today we are looking at rate of change and initial value. What is the rate of change and the initial value is our essential question. Your learning intention. I'm learning to find the rate of change and the initial values. For your warm-up, write the equation of the following graphs. If you will notice, this is like what we were doing last class period, where you need to find your slope, your y-intercept, and then write the equation of that graph. Pause the video and do those two problems now. I do hope you tried and that all you're doing now is to check those answers. Okay, so if we're looking at this, your slope is that rise over run, create that right triangle. It is a negative slope. So if I'm looking, I'm going down 1, 2, 3. I go right 1, 2, 3, 4. So this slope is negative 3 over 4. Where does it go across the y-axis? At positive 1. Put it in that slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. Y equals negative 3/4 x plus 1. For the next one, if I'm looking, this is 4 minus, we're going from 4 to 4, so that'd be 4 minus 4, which would be 0. I'm going from negative 1 to 3, that would be 4. 0 over 4 is simply 0. The way I always explain it, is it going up? Is it positive? No. Is it negative? No. What number is in between positive and negative? 0. That is a 0 slope. It goes across at 4. That's a positive 4. So y equals 0x plus 4. Do I need the 0 times x? No. Y is simply equal to 4. Every coordinate point on that graph has 4 as its y coordinate. The ratio of change is what? The rate of change is what? It is a ratio. Ratio. How do we write a ratio? One number divided by another. That compares the amount of change in a what variable to the amount of change in a what variable. Remember when we were talking about dependent and independent variables. The dependent would depend on what you put in first. Is that your input or your output? Your output depends on what you put in. So it compares the amount of change in an dependent variable to the amount of change in the independent variable. So y is your dependent variable, the change in y over the change in x. Betty has decided to join a gym for the next 3 months. Fabulous Fitness charges $45 a month. Greg's Gym charges $33 at the end of each quarter, plus an initial fee of $50. How much would Bonnie pay just to join each gym? For Fabulous Fitness, what is her initial fee? $0. For Greg's Gym, what is her initial fee? $50. Now, how much would Bonnie need to pay each month? For Fabulous Fitness, $45 each month. What about for Greg's Gym? It's $99 at the end of each quarter. How many months are in a quarter? 12 divided by 4 is 3. So there's 3 months in each quarter of a year. So that would be $99 for the quarter divided by the 3 months that are in each quarter. And that gives us a total of $33 per month. Write an equation to calculate the total for each gym. Let y equals your total cost and x will equal the number of months. So my total cost for Fabulous Fitness will be $45 per month times the number of months. My total cost for Greg's Gym will be my $33 per month plus my initial fee of $50. Which one's cheaper at the end of 3 months? Well, let's see. Y equals 45 times 3. I'm going to put it in my calculator. And I get $135. Greg's Gym. 33 times 3 plus the $50 initial fee. And that is $149. Okay, which one would be cheaper than the 3 months? Well, it would be Greg's Gym. Greg's Gym would be the more expensive. And Fabulous Fitness would be about $14 less. But which one? How many months before they're the same? How many months will 45x be equal to 33x plus 50? How do I solve that? Well, I'm going to subtract $33 or 33x from both sides. And I've got 12x is equal to 50. I'm going to divide by 12. So, $50 divided by this 12, and that gives me 4.166. So, it would be about 4.2. Okay, now, if all you're doing is joining for the winter months for those 3 up to 4 months, Fabulous Fitness would be the better deal. But if you go 5 or more months, if you decide to make it a lifetime commitment, you would definitely want to go to Greg's Gym because in the long run it would be cheaper. Okay, how many of you want to go out and buy a brand new car? Yeah, most of us do. So when you buy that brand new car, it will definitely depreciate. The table shows the value of a new car as it depreciates or decreases over time. First question is, what is the price of that new car? It would be $24,000. What is this? Calculate the slope using the point 1, 2,000, and 3, 17,000. So, if we remember, this is the change in y over the change in x. So I go from 20,000 down to 17,000. I go from 1 month to 3 months. 20,000 minus 17,000 over 1 minus 3. So this will be 20,000 minus 17,000 is 3,000 divided by -2. So this would be negative 1,500. So between the first month and the third month, I have depreciated $1,500 per month. What about between the third month and the fourth month? If I'm looking at the slope, the change in y over the change in x, this would be 17,000 minus 15,000 over 3 minus 4. So this is 17,000 minus 15,000 is 2,000 over -1, which gives me -2,000. Okay, compare the two slopes. Is depreciation a linear function? No, it's not. It's not linear because these two slopes are not the same. So depreciation is not a linear function. And that is because the slope does not remain the same. Because the slope changes. When does a car or a vehicle depreciate the most? Between 0 and 1 year. At 1 year, it will depreciate almost double of what happens. So depreciation is not that linear function. And this is true, a new car depreciates the most that first year you own it. Okay, Sam has $37 to spend at the festival. The price of admission is $10 and the tickets to each attraction cost 75 cents. How many tickets can he buy? Write the equation that represents this situation. So if we're looking at that initial value, what is that initial value? Before he goes into the festival, what does he have to do? He has to pay $10. So that would be your initial value, which is the cost of the admission. The rate of change is 75 cents, which is the cost of each ticket or each ride. What is the maximum number of tickets Sam can buy? Well, he's starting off with $37. This has got to be greater than or equal to 10 plus 0.75 times x, which would be the number of rides. We could do an equality, but we know that this has got to be the most he spends, because they won't let you on those rides without those tickets. So to solve, I'm going to subtract 10 from each side. $27 is greater than or equal to 0.75x. Next, divide by 0.75. So 27 divided by 0.75, I get 36. So he can go on 36 rides. Okay, we're going to complete the following table. Okay, so if he's paid $10.75, how many rides has he been on? If he's paid $10.75, how many rides? That would be 1. After 5 rides, how much has he paid? Well, we've got that initial $10 that he has to pay plus 0.75 times 5. And I end up with $13.75. On the next one, how are we going to figure out the number of rides? What do we know? Well, we know that this is 10 plus 0.75 times something. So if I take away the 10, I am left with $7.50. That would be how many rides? How much is each ride? 0.75. So 0.75, 7.50 divided by 0.75. And it is 10 rides. Whoops, dropped my pen there. And for the last one, once again, it is this 10 plus 0.75 times 15. And we end up with $25.25. So, when you're going straight with that equation that we came up with up here, when you're using that equation, it's pretty easy. But when you know your output, it's a lot harder, because you've got to subtract that initial fee, find out how much you've spent on tickets, Divide that amount you have spent on tickets by the amount each ticket costs. So it made it a little bit more difficult, but still not very hard. So how do you know you're successful? You know you're successful when you can find the rate of change and your initial values. So rate of change, and that is your slope. Initial value, and that's what you pay first. What you pay first, what you start with.